Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be doing a little trip vlog, if you will, a vacation vlog kind of. Basically, I went to Catalina Island for the very first time with my dad and my brother. They came to visit me down in LA and we thought it would be a fun activity to do all together. So we just spent the day at Catalina Island, technically in the off season, and I vlogged the whole thing, and I thought we would kind of go through the day, break it down, and I could give you guys some tips and tricks that I learned throughout my stay at Catalina Island. So let's just get right into it. So basically, Catalina Island is right off the coast of Los Angeles, and to get there, you have to take a ferry boat. It's kind of a smaller ferry boat, you know, there's no cars on it or anything. It's called the Catalina Express, or at least the one we took is called the Catalina Express, and you have to wake up really early, go park your car at their designated lot, and then get on the boat. Tip number one, I'm gonna tell you guys right off the bat, have your tickets screenshotted on your phone and like ready to go, because a big issue that me and my family ran into throughout this entire trip was a lack of phone signal and internet and that sort of thing. And this started right smack dab at the start of the day when we were getting on the boat. There was no signal, and my dad couldn't pull up his email to get the tickets. Luckily, we still got on the boat, everything worked out, but that's my number one tip, is have everything ready to go for your trip, because on the island especially, there is just no signal like whatsoever. So if you are planning to like look up stuff while you're there or whatever, don't. Plan ahead, have everything ready to go so you don't have to mess with your phone while you're there. I wasn't quite sure what to expect with the ferry boat ride, because I feel like when you hear the word ferry, at least for me, I'm thinking of just kind of slower, you know, something that's just getting you from point A to point B. But honestly, this was low-key one of my favorite parts of the day. Inside the boat, there's a bunch of seating, like booths and stuff that you can sit with. Me and my family, we got a booth up on the second deck, and we just had so much fun looking out the window. We saw so many dolphins and birds and boats, and just the views were just really, really fun. And then also the boat itself is like going pretty fast, and at least when we were there, the waves were pretty choppy, and it was kind of like a roller coaster ride. Like, I was feeling my stomach drop, and I don't know, I just really, really enjoyed it. It was about, I want to say like an hour, over an hour long, and I don't know, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I also just like boat rides. I guess if you get seasick, that would be something to consider, because the boat is very rocky. All right, you're feeling those waves, especially if you go outside on the top deck. Like, I was gripping onto the railing for dear life to make sure I didn't fall over. Like, this is an intense boat ride.
No.
We're on. I'll talk when we get there. Then once our boat arrived at Catalina, we got off, and instantly I'm like, listen y'all, I need some food. There was some food options on the boat that you could purchase, but I wanted like an actual legit breakfast. So we ended up going to the Pancake Cottage, which was right there in town when you get off the boat. This was a good option for breakfast, in my opinion, if you're just looking for something easy, relatively well priced, and just like your run-of-the-mill breakfast diner type of food. I got French toast and eggs, and I think my family got like omelets and stuff like that. It's not necessarily the most stellar food in the world, but I'm easy to please. I love French toast, so I was happy. Okay, and then after breakfast, we were kind of faced with the question of whether we wanted to rent some form of transportation. For those of you that don't know, on Catalina Island, and where we were at, which was this town of Avalon, there isn't really cars for the most part, and pretty much everybody is either walking, biking, or using golf carts to get around. So you can rent a golf cart or an electric bike or a regular bike, and a lot of people do that option. My family, you know, they're big hikers, they're big walkers, and ultimately came to the decision, you know what? We're gonna walk everywhere. So after breakfast, we walked around a little. We walked down the pier, checked out some of the shops, and looked at the water. So today we're doing a little Catalina Island vlog, and I've got my brother and my dad with me. Say hello, Maxwell. They're really camera shy, but I'm gonna get them on camera, guys, don't worry. See, not gonna probably be doing any swimming as it is kind of the off season, but we're gonna show you guys all the fun sights, so let's go. Hopefully they can hear me over the wind. Hey, I think that's your place.
Oh yeah, let's go there.
It's quite windy and it's quite chilly because of the wind on the pier. And if you see my hair looking friggin' horrible, that's why, okay? That's why. Yeah, the town is so cute. And the town itself, I would say, like all the shops, it is very walkable. I don't think you would need to rent transportation just to do all of that. However, our next destination was the Wrigley Memorial Gardens. That's a whole separate thing I need to get into. Okay, this island is low-key like the Wrigley Empire, and I didn't know what the heck this was. But basically there was a guy named William Wrigley Jr. who owned the Wrigley Gum Company, if you're familiar. It's like an older brand of gum that was really, really popular. So he had a lot of money and he said, you know what? I'm gonna invest it in this island. So his name is just plastered everywhere, which is why there are the Wrigley Memorial Gardens that you can go and see. And so that was our next destination, but that was a mile or two inland. We were like, okay, what are we gonna do? We find out you can either, take a shuttle there. They have a shuttle that takes you from town to the memorials, but it's only at set times and you have to reserve a spot on the shuttle. So we were like, well, the times aren't really lining up with when we're gonna go there. So that's out. Then we learn that there is this app called Circuit, and Circuit is essentially like the Uber or Lyft of Catalina Island. I mean, I'm sure it's used in other places, but I've never encountered it before. But they aren't cars, they're like big golf carts. I was like, oh, okay, perfect. Well, I'll get the Circuit app. Apparently it's only $2 per rider, so that's very well priced. Perfect. We'll take a Circuit up to the Memorial Gardens. Now, of course, I ran into the issue I talked about earlier where there is no signal on this island. Even though it says like I had full bars, nothing was loading, absolutely nothing. So took us forever to even download the app, get logged into the app, etc. And then the app itself does not work very well. As you can tell, I'm not the biggest fan of Circuit. Sorry, Circuit. So eventually I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Let's just start walking that way and then I'll see if I can book us a Circuit along the way somewhere. Listen, we're just three ill-prepared tourists at the end of the day. This is our first time here and we're just going with the flow, seeing what happens. Eventually, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I think I've got one on the way. We stand there and wait for our Circuit to come. It says that the Circuit has arrived, but the Circuit is nowhere in sight. We're walking all around the place trying to find where the heck the Circuit is, and eventually it just abandons us and cancels the ride. And we're like, oh my God. So, of course, my family decides, you know what? We're just gonna hike up there. We are hiking, and there's a horse. What I will say is it is doable. You can definitely hike to the Wrigley Memorial. Is it the most exciting hike? No. Was it my favorite experience of the day? No. So we walked to the Wrigley Memorial and it was really pretty. So they have a whole botanical gardens on the lower part of the memorial site. So we walked through there. You can see a bunch of really pretty plants and cacti, etc., etc. There's also, some wildlife. I think we saw like a woodpecker and stuff like that, a lizard.
Oh, that one's flowering over there. A fox.
What the heck?
Smell this stuff. Yummy. Sage. Yeah, here. Poison ivy.
Oh no. And then we walked up to the actual memorial part, and that one was really cool too. So I guess I would recommend going to see that. Also very pretty, like if you want to take pictures there. We actually knew somebody that had gone to a wedding there as a wedding venue. So yeah, very cool part of the island. Got to pay homage to the Wrigley Gum Empire. Yeah, we walked all the way from down there to here.
Well, we stopped sometimes because we thought we were going to get a circuit. Took a bit of climbing, but I got up here.
I didn't even see you at first.
No, you're messing up my photograph.
We decided our next destination would be the casino. This is the other very popular historic site on the island, even though it was never actually a casino. From what I can tell from my research, it was never actually used as a casino. And we actually did manage to book a circuit ride to the casino. We were very proud that we somehow made that happen. The casino is also where a lot of the dives launch from if you want to go diving in Catalina. So there was like a little dive shop. There's almost like a tiny little mini diving museum that we went into, and we were talking with the guy in there for a while. He actually was familiar with our hometown of Gig Harbor in the Puget Sound because he had done a bunch of diving there and stuff. So it was cool to talk to him and learn a little bit more of the history with Catalina and diving. And the shop itself also had like really cool old diving artifacts. They had this suit that had been used in a bunch of movies. There was like a lot of movie diving memorabilia there as well. Like he said it had been used, like he had helped use it for the newest Black Panther movie. We did not go inside of the casino building because you do have to pay, and we weren't really feeling it, but it was a cool building to see. So if you like history and old architecture and stuff, it's a cool spot to go see. It's also just has a nice view of the whole island from that little point. Then after this, we're like, you know what, let's walk back to town. It's time to get some drinks and maybe some snacks. And this was also arguably my favorite part of the day because we went into Luau Larry's. Now, Luau Larry's is a tiki bar of sorts, and we just had a blast in there. I mean, I love a themed restaurant, a themed bar. Had an endless drink menu, so many different drinks that you could get. We also just had a blast because my dad's name is Larry. So yeah, we all ordered a drink there. I think it was called the Dragon Margarita. Would recommend. It was very good. Nice sized drinks, just good vibes in there, good music. So I very highly recommend going to Luau Larry's. It's quite the party spot.
Oh, look at the stickers.
And in general, I do think that is a highlight of Catalina Island, is the bar scene. I mean, we didn't do it, but I think that it would be really fun if you were like staying the night on Catalina to do a bar hopping situation, especially because everything is so walkable. It would be so easy to bounce around to a bunch of different bars and get drinks with your friends, and then you would easily be able to like walk to your hotel or Airbnb right after. The town itself is also just so cute. It looks like it would be like on the coast of Italy. It feels fake a little bit, like a movie set. Walking just through the shops is really fun. A good shop that I would recommend if you're just looking for Catalina merch is Island Threads. That one was huge and had just so much Catalina Island merch. We also learned there, because I was walking through that shop and there was a huge section of Chicago Cubs merch. And I was like, that's so weird. Like, you know, we're in California. Why is there a bunch of Chicago Cubs merch? Well, apparently Mr. Wrigley, yeah, it all comes back to Mr. Wrigley. He owned the Chicago Cubs, or had some ownership with them, and they used to practice on the island in the off season. But yeah, I love walking around in shops and stuff. So if you also like that, that's just a fun part of the island experience. It's also fun to just walk through the neighborhoods because all the houses are so small and adorable, and each one just has its own like different character to it. Then of course my family decided, you know what? It's time for another hike. Yes, of course. So this time we hiked up to a city viewpoint that's right below the Wrigley Mansion. Yes, you heard me right. The Wrigley Mansion, the Wrigley Estate, okay? So we got directions on how to get up there, and we just walked, you know, along the roads through the neighborhoods all the way up to this city viewpoint. And this was a very nice viewpoint. I personally would have preferred maybe to just drive a golf cart up there, but to each their own. It was really cool to kind of get the 360 views of the island, see the town and the water, and we could even see there was a big cruise ship that was in town when we were there. So we could see that off the coast. We could see the submarine, because there's a submarine that you can go on Catalina Island. We saw a parasailer, because that's another thing you can do there. Yeah, it was a very cool viewpoint, would be good for pictures. So that's a good option for something to check out while you're there. Luau Larry's was a freaking blast. We are now walking out to a scenic overlook of some sort.
Stupid.
You want my ice cream? I'll fill my water bottle.
Oh.
I know he's gonna eat it. Yeah.
Gee, thanks. But yeah, then after that, we hiked back down. From there on, we were just kind of chilling out and enjoying our time on Catalina, getting more drinks at some different spots. We went to this restaurant that is right on the water, which was really, really nice. And they have, you know, a deck on the outside that you can sit on, and the water is just like right below you. So that's a really nice spot for a drink or a meal. But yeah, then before we knew it, it was time to go home. Our boat ride home was at like 6 o'clock, I want to say. So we boarded up on the boat. The sun was going down by this point. But yeah, so that was our trip to Catalina Island. I really, really enjoyed it, even though it was the off season, so it was a little chillier and we couldn't do, you know, any of the swimming or anything like that. We still had a really good time. Yeah, those are my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!
Don't show them. I'm embarrassed.